President Trump has been pretty high on Kevin Hassett really since June. They had a bunch of private meetings in June that my sources told me went really well. And then, the process just, petered out a little bit. There have been so many sort of foreign policy challenges that he's been dealing with that the Fed search just took a little bit of a backseat. And so now it is cropping back up now that people are looking to Powell's term ending in 2026. And Hassett really is still the front runner. I mean, the thing is that he has a good rapport with the president. They have a long-standing relationship. You remember that he served on the president's Council of Economic Advisors in the first term. When I was going down to Palm Beach during the transition, I ran into him on a plane once. He was in and out of Mar-a-Lago a lot then. He is someone that the president calls on the phone to speak about economic policy with. And over Kevin Warsh, he has the added benefit of proximity to Trump. He is the head of the National Economic Council, and he's in the West Wing every day.
And he's been doing an almost daily audition on cable news to some extent or another, defending the president's economic policies. That's got to play a big role.
That plays a huge role. And for Trump, that is such a key thing, someone who can sort of be out there defending his policies. He spoke at the Economic Club. I saw, yesterday that he's speaking at the Wall Street Journal CEO Summit in D.C. in early December. He is really doing a lot of high-profile interviews to kind of, I think, make his case with the hope that Trump will see it. And I also think that there are some people in the Trump orbit who view Kevin Warsh as a little less predictable and a little bit too Wall Street, and they're wary of that.
Interesting. So are the interviews are over, obviously. What's left in the so-called search process as we look at the baseball cards here on YouTube? That was the, I guess, not so short list when they were even looking outside of government to a Rick Reeder, for instance. What's left to be done here? Just having a sit-down conversation and coming to a decision?
There's still a few different steps. And so the interviews are done with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. But now people are going to be interviewed by the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who's incredibly influential in the Trump orbit, and the Vice President, J.D. Vance. And they're going to sit down with interviews with them, and then Trump needs to sit down with people. Trump has met Kevin Warsh a bunch of times. He considered him for the Fed governor during his first term, you have to remember. He was also down at Mar-a-Lago during the transition, and he has tons of contact with Kevin Hassett, as we already said. So Trump knows these people. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's never met them. But, he's going to, and then Trump will do the interviews.
He's been saying a lot. So there will be like an apprentice finalist interview then, right? With what you're saying with President Trump.
Sure, there will be. I think the open question now is Scott Bessent has said that he's going to sort of narrow down the list of 5 now and give, Trump, let's say 3 to interview. And so the question is, who makes that final cut for the Trump interview? And I also think Scott Bessent is very wary of what happened with Secretary Mnuchin in the first term. And doesn't want to make a recommendation. Mnuchin, as you remember, recommended Powell, and Trump really blamed him for that. Scott Bessent has learned that lesson and is not going to tip the scale for any one of these candidates.
J.D. Vance gets his own interview, huh? That's the one-on-one with J.D. That's
I
part
don't
of the
know
process.
if they're doing it one-on-one or if he's going to do it with other White House officials. But the thing is, he is in the mix for this job.
Understood.
And I think that is interesting in and of itself.
It absolutely is. Scott Bessent, correct me if I'm wrong, was his number one choice, right? It's part of the stump speech now almost. Every time hey, Scott, if you want the job, it's yours, but he says he likes the Treasury better. Is that who he preferred for this job?
I think that he wants someone at the Fed who makes things simpler and who will follow his agenda. I think he really trusts Scott Bessent and is very high on him. So I think that we shouldn't discount in the 15th hour that there's some plot twist where, Scott Bessent maybe will get named both Treasury Secretary and Fed Chair. I think that's a possibility because I think Trump over many months has talked about that idea privately with people I talk to.
I want to mention, and thank you, James, for this, 10-year note is showing a lower rate. We just gave up the 4 handle on the 10-year note. This is incredible. Dipping below 4% for the first time since late October. As soon as this happens, market starts betting on rate cuts, I guess even before it happens. Fair to say?
Yeah, I think people see, if Hassett's a front runner, people see Hassett as someone who will do the rate cuts that Trump wants.
Yes. Even though he's one voice among many.
Sure. I mean, he'll have to convince the rest of the board, but I also think, the board seems to, be moving more in that direction as well.
We talk a lot about central casting when it comes to President Trump making hiring decisions, and you've seen a lot of folks come and go from the first term through the campaign to now. There's a news conference that comes with being a Fed chair now. Like in the old days when we used to watch Alan Greenspan, this was not a TV job. It is now, arguably. Yeah. How much of that factors into, and the look and the body language, the way we deal with reporters into the final decision?
I think that factors in a huge amount. And I think that that's why you're seeing Kevin Hassett do these longer form interviews, because I think that, that is part of the apprentice style audition, to show that you can be on TV, not just for like a, 4-minute hit on a TV network, but, you can parry questions back and forth for 45 minutes as you would in a press conference. Kevin Hassett, it should be also said, wants this job. He wants the job.
Let's be clear.
He's campaigning for it internally. He has a demeanor in these interviews where he is, more coy, but I'm told by sources that he really wants it.